First Lady Dr. Jill Biden is on the campaign trail in North Carolina. Notably absent from the public eye is former First Lady Melania Trump. There are also reports circulating that if the former president wins a second term, Melania may not be returning to D.C. full-time. She is expected to likely travel between Palm Beach and New York, only coming to the White House for state dinners or other special events. This got us thinking about the impact First Ladies have on campaigns, elections, and the White House. Dr. Barbara Perry is with us now. She is the University of Virginia's Gerald L. Beliles Professor and Director of Presidential Study, and always a presidential historian we trust and appreciate coming on. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Marni. Always good to be with you.
What role do First Ladies play, Barbara, in campaign strategy?
Well, behind the scenes, if they want to be involved and they are admired by their husbands and his advisors, they can play a huge role. Take someone like Eleanor Roosevelt as an example. She had been a political activist many decades before she arrived at the White House, and often went on her own to be the eyes and ears and legs, if you will, of her polio-afflicted husband. So I think that certainly if First Ladies want to play that role, they can. And we've had more recent examples of Michelle Obama, Barbara Bush, and Hillary Clinton, just to name a few.
What are some of the things that those influential First Ladies have been able to accomplish, and does it translate into votes come November?
It can translate into votes, and they are used obviously strategically and tactically around the country. First of all, they can project an image. If they're out on their own, they are projecting an image of a strong, independent woman. Again, more recent, including Jill Biden. First Ladies have had quite a bit of education. Dr. Biden has a PhD or DED and still continues to teach at the college level. We've had Michelle Obama. We've had Hillary Clinton with law degrees from prestigious universities, so they can project strength. They can also humanize their husbands, and that's not to be minimized, I think, in this day and age of media, social media, television.
And how might the absence of a First Lady or former First Lady impact the campaign or the optics? In this case, we're talking about Melania Trump. We haven't seen her all too often leading up to this election.
That's correct. And as you say, not only have we not seen her, she was not with her husband during his trial in New York. She has not been with him on the campaign trail or out by herself campaigning, as Jill Biden is doing for her husband. And as you also mentioned at the top of this segment, it appears, at least through media, that she may not even want to be in Washington or be based in Washington if her husband should get a non-consecutive second term. So that is already being remarked on, and you can be sure that if that holds true, that it will be remarked upon during his 4 years again in the White House.
Is there any comparison to that, looking back in history of First Lady and President, that were not together all of the time? Is there any parallel to what we may be seeing here?
There is, and I'm going to name two First Ladies who don't seem to have a lot in common, but in this way they do. One is Bess Truman, Harry Truman's wife, who preferred to stay out of the limelight and often would stay back in their home state of Missouri in Independence, and her longtime family home. And poor Harry would write letters, "I miss you so much here in the White House. I feel like something the cat has dragged in." And another First Lady, much more glamorous than Bess Truman, but Jacqueline Kennedy, with two small children to care for. She would often travel abroad with them or by herself, or she would go off to the Virginia Hunt Country to a home that they rented and then actually built in the Virginia Hunt Country outside of Washington. And that was to get away from the limelight and the spotlight, that she didn't want to have a negative impact on her small children.
Yeah, to each his own, and I think you can read in what you will on each case. Dr. Barbara Perry, thank you. The First Lady's influence undoubtedly powerful going into an election, and that seems to be true through history and still today. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.